Hey everybody, quick intro before the intro to kick things off. First things first, I want to go ahead and thank you, that's right, you right now, for tuning in to this episode of Desert Tiger. Whether you are streaming or downloading this episode of the podcast, thank you so very much. And if you want to support the podcast one step further, you can hit the subscribe or follow button on whatever service you are listening on. Or if you want to go ahead even further than that, you can go ahead to the Desert Tiger Entertainment Facebook page, the Desert Tiger Podcast Instagram page, as well as my personal page, Colton.Gesch, that is COLTON.GESCH on Instagram. On all three of those pages, we are kicking off an awesome contest today. That's right, the day that this episode dropped. So if you're listening to this episode any other day than the Thursday that this came out, maybe you might want to hurry up and see if you still have a chance to win a one-of-a-kind. That's right, there's only going to be two made of the Desert Tiger sweater that you are going to see on here. You are also going to win a book from last week's guest, Alex McGilvery. You are also going to win music from past guests of the podcast. And you're also going to win a copy of Heel Kick. That's right. Not only are we giving you a movie, not only are we giving you music, not only are we giving you a book, we're giving you a sick, comfortable sweater to enjoy it all in. I'm going to tell you guys more about that at the middle of the show. So let's kick this off and introduce our guest.
Music, athletics, arts, and entertainment. The Desert Tiger Podcast with Colton Geschwader.
And as you guys know, that is me, your host every single Thursday, every single week here on the Desert Tiger Podcast. This week, my guest is the members of Florida pop punk band Felicity. That's right, we have every single member of Felicity with us today. Damien, the vocalist, the guitarists Andrew and Corey, the bassist Mike, and of course, Tyler, their drummer. We got all the guys together and we talked all things Felicity, the entire span of the band up to now, including some of what is in the future for these Florida pop punkers. So, what did we talk about exactly? Well, we talked about how Felicity came together, how these 5 differently inspired individuals found each other, and how they feel that this is the lineup that describes them best. How they came to work with producer Andrew Wade, that's right, legendary producer who has worked with A Day to Remember, Motionless in White, Neck Deep, The Ghost Inside, the list goes on and on. They have worked with Andrew for all 3 of their EPs. We're going to talk about all of them. Wait a second, did you say 3 EPs, Colton? I did say 3 EPs, that's right. We're going to talk about how Felicity has a new EP coming at you this year. They are super excited about that. We're also going to talk about how some of the festivals that the boys have performed. We're going to talk about their experiences with Warped Tour. We're also going to talk about their experiences at Vans Warped Tour Rewind at Sea, where they shared the stage with the likes of Good Charlotte, Mayday Parade, Story of the Year, and Simple Plan. And they have a fantastic story about the lead singer of Story of the Year, and it includes a cover of a band that pretty much everybody loves, so you guys are definitely gonna want to hold on for that story. This episode is fantastic. I loved talking to the Felicity guys, and I hope you guys are just as excited for this episode as I am. And to get you just as hype, just as excited, just as in the mood to hear the Felicity guys talk about the entire history of the band and what they have in store for the future, we have to go ahead and play you some music by the band, of course. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off with the band's latest single. This is called The City Beautiful.
short drive, see the seaside. Far away, you had a bad week that we could rewrite. Change the pace and watch the planes launch the ships out from the bay. What made you stress? Just let time vex. I want shelter from the sun. Beat these summer rays. It's where my head's on. Welcome to the place that I call home, where the antiquated roam, where the stuff is no birds. Na 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 na. Where you gotta forget life, where the girls are just a lie. Way to win me over. Na 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 na. Just know I won't be gone for too long. Put up your weekend, I'll find my way home. Electric lights, a roller of the southern skies. I find it hard to think without you. Guide my compass to close the distance. I hear your sigh, breaking up over the line. I want shelter from the sun. Beat these summer rays. It's where my head's on. Welcome to the place that I call home, where the antiquated roam, where the stuff is no birds. Na 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 na. Where you gotta forget life, where the girls are just a lie. Way to win me over. Na 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 na. I'm coming back to all the warm nights after dark. To those of me that left their mark. This will be gone in the hour. It's just an afternoon shower. To all the thieves in all the parks. To the beaches with their sharks. This will be gone in the hour. It's just an afternoon shower. Welcome to the place that I call home, where the antiquated roam, where the stuff is no birds. Na 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 na. Where you gotta forget life, where the girls are just a lie. Way to win me over. Na 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 na.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
All right, we're here with the members of Felicity. If you guys can introduce yourselves and what you play in the band, that would be awesome.
Sweet, sweet. I'm Damien. I am the vocalist.
My name's Andrew. I play guitar. My name is Corey. I play guitar. My name's Tyler, and I play drums.
And I'm Mike. I play bass.
Awesome, we got the whole band together. I love it.
What's up?
It's shocking that we're all together, but we're here, man.
How often do you actually get all the troops in one room, right?
Well, I mean,
quite often, actually.
well, like if we just played a show and like wrapped the show and we're hanging out, it may be hard to get us all in one place, but or before a show, like, you know, until we are on stage, it's kind of like sometimes we have to play hide and go seek.
It's like a game of Where's Waldo before and after a show, trying to get a
But
picture
you know,
of
we
us.
get together to practice mandatory 2 or 3 times a week, and we do shows on weekends, and then when we're on tour and stuff, we can't get out of each other's sights. So we definitely have plenty of time together, that's for sure.
Awesome, awesome. So how did Felicity end up coming together? Tell me about the start of the band.
Oh, Damien can certainly do that.
Yeah, well, like we were saying before, we are a Craigslist band. It is, it's weird that we didn't all kill each other and stuff like that, but like we were all pretty normal, and I started just putting out a post on Craigslist looking for a couple members, you know, just wanting to start out a band, seeing if something could potentially happen, and that's when Drew, the lead guitar player, messaged me back, and he was like, "Hey man, let's do a jam session." And from there, we kind of gelled a little bit, and we had like 5 or 6 songs that we wrote, and we would just play constantly for hours in my parents' garage. This was a couple of years back, I know. super cliche, but yeah, we would just play 5 or 6 songs and we'd play them for hours, and then after a while we're like, you know what, we need to see if we could expand and start playing out more. So we started looking for more members. That's when Mike came in on bass, and then we found Corey, lead guitar, and then we had Tyler on drums, and we went through some member changes, as any band is going to do, through their career, and I feel like this lineup is probably one of the most strongest that we have now, and I'm so grateful to have these guys here with us, and that's kind of how it started. Then we just started playing a bunch of shows all over Florida, and then it kind of just, took off from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so right off the bat, you guys were writing your own music and playing shows? Were you guys doing covers? Like, how far were you guys traveling at this point before you were actually recording and releasing music?
Well, Damien originally was, in a cover band, and he kind of quit the cover band, too, because he wanted to start an original band. So
okay.
when I first met him and we had our first band practice ever, I feel like we played a couple covers. We played,
it was a few.
We would play What It Is to Burn by Finch, and we would play
I think Disaster was it.
We'd play Bush,
Right.
what was it, Glycerin, or not Glycerin?
Oh, Glycerin.
Machine Head.
Oh
We
man,
play
your
Machine
memory's
Head.
good, dude.
Yeah, so that's kind of you got to have kind of a starting point, but we kind of started right away writing music, and
because we each kind of had an idea that we were working on individually, and then we would just bring it to each other.
yeah.
And then you were just like, oh, let's see if I could add something on there. Let's see if I
Yeah,
could add
and
something.
starting out, we would have a drummer come in and be like, "Yeah, I want to be in this band," and then they would come to 2 practices, and then would stop showing up. So for the first, I'd say probably majority of the first few months, it was really just Damien and I,
Just
2
grinding it
guys
out.
with half-stack guitar amps, just playing really loud guitar and writing songs, and then over the course of a year. We added added members and started playing shows, and we were always an all original band. We've always dabbled in some covers for fun or to fill out a set or for whatever reason, but we've definitely been always from the beginning an all original band.
I would say even the touring too is with originals and maybe the occasional cover.
Yeah,
But we really didn't branch much out of Orlando until we had our first EP.
yeah. We played a couple shows outside. We would try to get. We played we'd play the close cities to Orlando, like Tampa and Jacksonville, and then we went on our first U.S. tour when we released our first EP, and then did the same thing the following summer after that. So pretty much that's how it started. It's always good to have a cover in your back pocket if you're in a city you've never played before, and maybe you're just trying to get the crowd engaged a little bit. If you pull out some Blink-182 or Jimmy World, it usually gets them going. So we try to have that, just in case.
Definitely have something that they're going to catch on to and get them moving.
Exactly.
Definitely, without a doubt. So at what point did you guys end up recording then? Did you guys take a few years to polish off these tracks then before you actually went into studio?
So when I came, this is Mike, by the way.
Okay.
When I jumped in, there was already a handful of songs that were done, but the EP hadn't been released yet. And I said, well, now that we have all the pieces, we might as well record an EP. And the band had existed for just a little over a year, I think, or right around a year at that point. And at that point, I said, all right, well, I know somebody in a studio who can get the job done. And I would say in maybe 3 months' time after that, we had a 4-song EP that we were ready to release. And we put it out there, and we got onto Sunfest in South Florida. We opened for Fall Out Boy. That was an amazing show opportunity. That led to us getting what came after?
We got to play Warped Tour.
Warped Tour, yep, the Orlando Warped Tour date. And I would say in that first year when I joined up, we had the EP out, we had the second EP going, and we gigging pretty regularly around Orlando and around Florida.
Yeah,
usually every other weekend.
When we first started, we would pretty much not say no to a show opportunity, whether there was 5 people. We played for 5 people. We played for 500 people that first year. And we would just not say no. Hey, do you want to play this show? It's all acoustic bands and you. Yes. Do you want to play this show? It's all metal bands and you. Yes. We would just do any opportunity to get the word out.
And usually at first when we were just starting, sending all these emails out and messages out, a lot of these venues would either not respond or just say no in terms of, because we're smaller at that moment. So I understand, but like it's still, we had the drive to say like, oh, I don't want to give up. I still want to keep on trying to play this venue. So we would play like there was this one or two places that would constantly have shows, and they were smaller, and they would be like, yeah, you guys could play this. So we were legit playing that venue probably every other weekend, just to get out there and get some exposure. You know,
we were just open for every single touring act that came through.
Every single touring, because these bigger venues wouldn't allow us to have that opportunity, and it's just that hustle. You know what I mean? It's just that drive that no matter what you do, you still want to play, no matter where it is, and that's what we did the first couple of years. We just played those same venues, same spots all the time, and really just hustled it out until we started. These other venues would start saying, yeah, you guys could, come over here. You guys could play one show over here.
That year of us hustling and just playing these, hole-in-the-wall, no-name venues, and just that was even almost before we had music out. And then we released the EP, and we got to play a little bit bigger venues, and then like that all led to us getting enough of our name to where we were able to be introduced to Andrew Wade, who's a gold record producer who produces everyone from A Day to Remember to Neck Deep to Wage War. He's just did the new Real Friends record, but we had built enough name for ourselves that he was actually willing to do our second EP. And so, as much as that motivated us to work with someone like that and how much we learned from him, it all dates back to that 1 year of us pretty much not sleeping on weekends and playing as many shows as we can and never saying no and hustling and grinding and being told no hundreds of times to lead us to be able to, record that second EP with Andrew Wade. And now we've actually done a third since then as well with him.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's such an amazing opportunity. And we're humbled by it too, to have that opportunity to be in Orlando and work with a producer of that caliber is just
dream come true.
Crazy.
We never thought that,
Absolutely. So how has your music evolved over the course of your EPs, and how has having a producer like Andrew Wade influenced your guys' songwriting over the course of 3 EPs as well?
I would say dynamics were definitely more involved with the latter 2 EPs. Just because when you're working with somebody like Wade, he just brings in different perspectives that you probably wouldn't have considered, but with that much experience, he just has that vision for it. So the songs came out just more dynamic, varying parts, sounds bigger, sounds fuller, transitions are more fluid.
Attention to detail, how did we go from the verse to the chorus? All right, now in this next song, that last song, we went from the verse to the chorus this way. Maybe it was a build-up, maybe it was a pick slide, maybe it was this. So let's differentiate, let's come up with something new, let's never repeat the same thing in the same song, let's not repeat this, what we did in that song and the next song.
It's like finding a process for every song and making sure every part has its purpose and not just putting filler stuff in there and getting every song to be cohesive within itself.
Yeah, I'd say that's his main strong point.
He gets you asking yourself questions about, what's the part trying to say? What should it lead into?
Yeah, what were you trying to say in this lyric? What was this song supposed to be about? What was this good? Why did you write it this way?
Even especially Wade, he's very focused on vocal production. That's where he likes to spend a lot of time when he's producing, and he'll analyze and tear apart and go through every syllable, every letter, every vowel, and just work with lyrics and melodies with you and harmonies, and just really get the song to sound and feel the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think just writing-wise, too, in terms of lyrics, in the beginning, you're just focusing on getting your music out there as quickly as possible. And you're not really focusing as much on the message that you're trying to send. But I think as we developed, our music and these latest batch of songs, we focused more on sending a message and just connecting with people through the lyrics. And I think that was another thing that we kind of evolved with our music.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lyrics have evolved? Definitely, you say?
Yeah, it's kind of been, with working with him the first time, we kind of realized how little we almost knew what we were doing. The first EP, we had songs that we've been playing for almost a year, and we had written in a garage, and we went and just recorded the versions of those songs that we had written, and they were top-notch versions of the songs we had written. But then when we went to work with Andrew, he sat down and just stripped down the song part by part and made it, and we questioned, what's the purpose of this at part? What's the purpose of these lyrics? What's the message we're trying to get across in this song? How's this song possibly relate to another song on the record? And really look at each individual part, even the smallest thing as a pre-chorus. Everything has to have its place and its purpose. And we had never even looked at our own songs underneath those microscopes. And he taught us to do that. So then we went back and we recorded this third EP with him. We were able to kind of do that process on our own before we even went to him to record it. And then, we even went deeper. So like it's like almost we're getting to another level of the Matrix every time we go do another record with him.
Yeah, I agree. I just think the lyrics have evolved, the messages that we're trying to send. We're just trying to connect with as many people as we possibly can, because that's, when I listen to music, that's what I look for. I look for a connection with the lyrics, and everything else kind of falls into place after that for me personally. But it's different for people out there,
Yeah, without a doubt. There's a lot of people who want to be able to connect to the artist that they're listening to and actually understand that they're not alone feeling these things, and having songs that they can feel connected to and actually inspire them is amazing. So what are some of those messages that you guys are trying to get out there?
Well, there will be the cliche relationship type songs that will come up.
It's pop punk, right?
Oh, it's pop, exactly. There's the pop punk elements always come out.
We've written, off the top of my head, relationship stuff, and some stuff about being betrayed by people, not even like loved ones, but friends, and
there's also just a lot of perseverance as well.
Perseverance is a big theme through our music.
Hanging on, no matter how many times you're told no, or you can't, you can't do something, in terms of keep on striving for whatever you want in life. And that's a lot of our messages in our songs. And I feel like that's something that everyone faces in life. They're constant disappointment, but then you'll have that one spark where someone will be, give you that chance and or just give you that opportunity. And we write a lot of material like that. And just like everyday events in life, in terms of we have a song called Weekend Warrior, which kind of dabbles in the work experiences and having to work to survive, when sometimes it's not like a job that you really want, but you have to do it, you know what I mean? Because you need to survive, you know what I mean?
Following your dreams and about how much you hate your job, but hopefully it's, at least for us, it's allowing us to strive for greater things.
We even wrote a song just about Florida.
Yeah, we wrote a song about what it's like living in Florida,
But that song can relate to others as well, because there's other messages in there too, where if you're not from Florida, you'll think about something else that will bring you home.
It's more about being at your hometown.
Yeah,
just loving where you're from and not the generic, I
hate my town.
I want to get out.
And always just wanting to go back to your roots, kind of. And I feel like that's something that people sometimes lose, because they kind of lose their identity, where they're from. And I feel like that song kind of helps them in terms of remembering where they're at and just know where they come from,
Definitely, for sure. And it's some people need to understand that, because when you're younger, a lot of the pop punk niche is you want to run away from your hometown and escape everything, but later on in life you might have fonder memories of that.
100%. Yeah,
that's a couple messages that we've kind of put in this recent material that we've been putting out.
Awesome. That is very awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about your guys' live experience. Like you said earlier, you guys have had the chance to play on the Orlando stages and Warped Tour. You guys have done the Vans Warped Rewind at Sea. You've done a ton of different festivals. So tell me a little bit about those experiences.
Let's start with the cruise. The cruise is amazing.
You're playing with some big names.
Dude,
huge names.
The free beer you can imagine.
Oh yeah, all the free PBR. So we got a lot of us had never even left the country, and most of us had never been on a cruise. So we got to kind of do both. We got to go to Mexico for the first time for most of us and leave the country, and we all got to go on our first cruise. Not only that, but they basically had like a mini Warp Tour every single day on the cruise. So all the entire lineup played every day. So it was like Warp Tour. Like you could run around from stage to stage, and there was probably 6 stages on the cruise ship, and see like Good Charlotte or Mayday Parade or.
And they would mix it up where, like, maybe Good Charlotte would play on the main stage one night, but the next night they would be at a smaller venue doing an acoustic set only. And then maybe on the third night they're on the second biggest stage in the middle of the day. And they just kind of change things around. So if you planned it out, you could definitely see every band you wanted to see. But just being in that small, contained environment with only people who are into that type of music, they're about it, rocking out, going crazy, and then at the same time, you can just be hanging out in one of the pool deck like hot tubs, and then you see Mayday Parade and the lead singer is playing with his child because they all brought their families on, and they're just walking around, mingling with the crowd, and it was just a very unique experience, and we really hope that they put it on again.
Yeah, and I think we're forgetting to mention the most greatest moment ever.
The dude jumped off and broke his leg.
Not that part.
Oh, and the dude fell off the scooter and broke his leg.
Edit both of those parts. The best part was playing with one of our idols from Story of the Year, the lead singer Dan Marsala. We got to do a song with him. We were doing a cover song, Linkin Park, and he came on stage with us, and he was super cool about it. And that was such a great memory for us, an experience. And he was so cool and down to earth. And Story of the Year is such an influence on me personally, and I think a lot of these guys in the band. And having that experience was amazing.
Yeah, having him willing to come up on stage and, pay tribute to one of his personal friends who was Chester Bennington, and that we grew up idolizing. And we got to do it on the final night of the cruise on the main stage. So, it was...
They basically had every band got to play a cover from a band that had a rock star who had passed away. So everyone's getting on stage in a really quick kind of, get on, get off. Yeah, the amps are already up there. Just bring up your guitar and plug in. And we bumped into Dan Marsala one night and just straight up asked him, and he said he'd be down, and wham bam, 2 days later he shows up on time, ready to do it, does everything perfectly.
A hero moment. It was like to the buzzer. He's nowhere to be found. We're panicking.
We weren't sure if he was going to show up, and then at the buzzer he just shows up with a beer in his hand. He's like, "Yo, let's do it!" And we're like, "Yo!" So we get up and we played One Step Closer, and he sang all of Chester's parts, and Damien got to sing all of the Mike Chioda parts. And then afterwards we all got off stage and we took shots, and he talked to us about the music industry and gave us words of wisdom and just hung out with us and gave us, an hour, an hour of his personal time. He could have been doing anything. And to hang out with an upcoming band who idolizes him. So it really, made us grow so much respect for him and his band. And, none of us will ever forget that moment for sure.
Yeah, how could you? Getting a moment like that is once in a lifetime, pretty much.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we savored it for sure.
So that was really cool getting to play at Sunfest. They had a few regional bands they allow every year to play Sunfest, and when they told us we got it, we were like, that's awesome. Like, we play Sunfest, it's a big music festival.
We're probably going to play some small side B stage.
They told us that we're playing the main stage, and we're on the final day, and we're on the final night in between the Pixies and Fall Out Boy.
Oh, my Lord.
So the Pixies played Where's My Mind, and then we played, and then Fall Out Boy played.
There's this picture I took of being side stage when the Pixies were playing Where Is My Mind, and it was a Snapchat. It just said, yeah, they're opening for us right now. Looking at that sea of people there to see the Pixies, and we're thinking, wow, and we're going on after those guys, and we better deliver. And the crowd stuck around, and the Fall Out Boy crowd started showing up, and next thing we know, we're playing in front of 1,100 people.
It's still probably the biggest show.
It was definitely the most crowd.
Show played. It was crazy.
And just to be that new of a band and getting such an opportunity and just having the power and control of the crowd to say, let me hear your voice, put your hands in the air and scream, and seeing 1,000 people do that.
We never experienced that.
It was incredible.
Surprisingly, a lot of the crowd was was into it, and we weren't expecting that.
Yeah,
we were kind of.
They didn't know. They didn't know who we
They
were.
didn't have to stick around
Yeah.
for
We came off the stage and we were
Regional
like, hey, if you want to say, hey, we're going to go over to our merch stand after we played.
Oh,
And we had them lined for about an hour straight of these kids wanting our autographs. And I think that was the first time any of us had been like asked to sign things.
Yeah, and
consistently,
and it was just crazy because we had just started this band less than a year ago, and we, didn't feel deserving of being there, but it was so amazing, and like if anything, it just motivated us more. And now that's almost 3 years ago now, or 2.5 years ago now, and to see we can still get all these awesome opportunities and still getting to do it, it's just really a dream come true.
Yeah, moments like that just make us feel like we're doing something right, at some point. And you don't always get those opportunities, but when we get them, we take them, and we love it.
I can still remember just walking around hours later, and the people would recognize us and say, hey, you were in that band that played earlier, Felicity, let me take a picture with you. And I still remember right at the end of Fall Out Boy's set, I was hanging out behind the guardrail area, and some people asked to take a picture of me, but then other people saw those people taking a picture of me, so then they wanted to take more pictures. And then it just becomes this mini moment of, you're giving those people your time, and they feel appreciative of that, and then it just starts paying it forward, and kind of got the ball rolling, really.
Yeah, for sure. And then when we got to do the Warped Tour main stage of Orlando was special to us because we got to go right before Yellow Card, and it was their final Warped Tour, and they're actually another Florida band. So it was almost like their final hometown Warped Tour ever as a band, and we got to go right before that. So that was really special to us, and getting to see them backstage. And we had been a band for maybe 2 or 3 years, and we had the current lineup for when we got to do that show. So it was really special because we got to this lineup is like the Felicity lineup. Like there's been some before it, but this is the one that's gotten us to where we are, and us getting to share that moment together, and to us all saying like we've been going to Warped Tour since we were in high school, and us all getting to share this moment and play Warped Tour finally after all these years of dreaming to be able to do it, and getting to do it and getting to play right before Yellow Card, and to have the city of Orlando come out to support us the way they did was super special. So it's been a whirlwind. We wouldn't trade anything for the world, and we just keep working our asses off so we can hope that this is just the beginning for us.
Yeah, without a doubt. And getting opportunities like that definitely makes the hard work worth it.
Man.
100%. And can't forget the House of Blues opportunities we've had.
Yeah.
Being able to just have a rapport with a prestigious venue like House of Blues Orlando, where you can just reach out to them every 6-7 months and say, hey, we'd like to do an Orlando Rocks locals only show, and they just let us put it together, and all of a sudden you're able to say, hey, come to House of Blues on Disney property for a free show and rock out with only local Orlando bands. And we've probably done that 4 or 5 times now, and just it's just establishing that fan base and momentum, and then just keeping the train going.
Yeah, it's really.
And it definitely shows the trust that Sunfest and the House of Blues have in you to be willing to allow you those opportunities as well.
Yeah, well, and they see we hustle, and we put our name out there and say, look, love it, hate it, check it out, and come see us and interact with us. That's the other thing with social media, and just being very much in tune with the fan base and having dialogue with them has helped to keep all the momentum building and stay in these people's ears who can control the House of Blues shows and the Sunfest and all of that. So yeah, just keep plugging along.
Without a doubt. So some of your singles, Burn the World and Hang On, have actually made it onto a couple different television opportunities. What's it like to have your music played on a national TV program?
It's weird because when you watch a lot of MTV stuff or Discovery, you hear like a cool little groove. You're like, oh, that's a cool track. And you don't think about it, and then you see who the artist is, and you're like, oh, wow, I've heard of that band. But when it's your own stuff, you're like, I don't deserve this.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, it's still be surreal.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird experience, but yeah, I don't even know the last time we because they said we had Burn the World and Hang On. I don't know the last day.
Yeah, so that was it's definitely surreal whenever you hear your own music, either on the radio or on a TV show or anywhere other than like
We're on their cruise.
or on the cruise, dude,
Blaring
they'd be
through
playing our music. We'd be walking through the hallway and they'd be playing our music.
I swear, every time I went to the bathroom, I would hear our song on the cruise.
Right?
And I was just like, this is so weird, but I stayed in the bathroom until the song
It's
finished.
like you would go in the bathroom and like Tonight would be playing, and then as soon as you walked out, it'd be like a Mayday Parade song. Like, wait, go back to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's why I stayed in the bathroom.
this is weird.
Yeah, it's still crazy. I mean, all of it, from the shows we get to play to the ways that our music has been used to some of the comments we get, or every time we get a merch order and we have to ship merch to Transylvania or, wherever it may be, that we're like, how are people finding us in these countries? It's all surreal, and we still don't, I don't know if we'll ever get used to it, but it's just, living the dream, and anything that just motivates us to work harder.
That's a great answer. Awesome. All right, dudes, this has been a great chat so far. I'm having an awesome time. I still have a ton of great questions for you, like what some of your high school influences were and what some of your favorite songs from your own catalog are. But of course, before I can get to that, I gotta take a moment to tell the Desert Tiger listeners how they can win some sweet swag courtesy of Desert Tiger and some of the past guests that we have had here on the podcast. So of course, you heard me at the top of the show tell you about how we have a sweet, comfortable, awesome looking sweater. Well, let me tell you, it is one of a kind, because the one you see on the Facebook page, on the Desert Tiger Podcast Instagram page, on my personal Instagram page, colton.gesh, that is mine. That is mine. That is the promo copy of this giveaway. I wanted one for myself because I thought it looked so sick. So whoever wins this giveaway, we are going to get you this sweater in whatever size you are. That's right, there is no restriction. So whatever size that you are that fits you comfortably, you are going to look amazing in this golden yellow printed Desert Tiger logo sweater just for you. That's right, just for you. We're also going to give you some music from past guests like Tanner Sear. How would you like to win all 3 of Tanner Sear's albums, including his upcoming album, A Storm You Can Weather? That's right, we're going to give you all 3 of them, and we're going to get him to sign them for you. We also have a copy of one of Alex McGilvery's collections of short stories, signed by the author himself. And that is also going to be given away to the winner of this contest. And don't worry, if you're not really into the books, and maybe you want something to watch, maybe you want something to appease your eyes visually like a movie, well, how about we give you a copy of Heel Kick to enjoy? Leo-nominated film Heel Kick, which stars past guest Danny Mac. That's right, not only are we giving you an amazing looking, comfortable sweater, we are giving you some amazing music from past guests. We're giving you a book so that you can open it up and enjoy beside the fireside or with a cup of tea outside in the sun, however you enjoy your reading. And we're also going to give you one of the funniest movies released this year for those rainy days when you want to stay inside. So now that we've told you about the things that you can win, we're going to play you a little bit more Felicity, and then we're going to tell you how you can win those items. So this song is also a very recent single by Felicity, and you are going to hear them talk about it a bit when I ask them what their favorite songs are from their own catalog. This is Circles. Alright, you guys, I hope that got you excited and hyped up to hear about how you're gonna win all this sweet swag from your friends here at Desert Tiger and some of the past guests on the podcast. So like I said before, we're going to be running this on Facebook and Instagram on 3 different pages. It's going to be on the Desert Tiger Entertainment page on Facebook, the Desert Tiger Podcast page on Instagram, as well as my personal page on Instagram, colton.gesch, that is colton.gesch. Now, liking all of those pages is going to get you entered once into this contest. Liking the post regarding the contest is going to get you entered as well. Tagging a friend in a comment for a friend who you think is going to look amazing in this golden yellow Desert Tiger logo sweater, that's going to not only enter you one entry into this contest, but it's also going to enter your friend into this contest. Sharing the Facebook post is going to get you 3 entries into the contest. And if you take a screenshot of the post and share it on your Instagram story and tag both accounts, that being Desert Tiger Podcast and Colton.Gesh, you are going to get 5 entries into this contest. That is right, there is so many different ways to get entered into this that I am going to have to hire Scott Steiner in order to keep track of all the math for me. So head on over to the Desert Tiger Entertainment page, the Desert Tiger Podcast page, and my personal page, Colton.Gesh, and get entered into this contest now. And I know that some of you are going to say, well, is it just one big old grand prize? No, because I have some Almost Alien albums kicking around from back when I was in my touring days with them, and let's say that I'll throw in 25 copies of Crash Landing to be won by different people who do not win the grand prize, and I'm also going to throw in some Desert Tiger stickers to go along with that copy of Almost Alien's Crash Landing. So there's 26 different opportunities to win, 25 secondary prizes, and 1 grand prize. So get on over to all 3 of these pages, give them a follow, like the post, tag a friend in the comment who you think is going to look awesome in this clothing, and go ahead and share the post, either on Facebook or in your Instagram story, tagging both of the pages I've listed, that being Desert Tiger Podcast and Colton.Gesh. Why your story, you might ask? I'm asking you to post this in your story so that you don't actually have to affect the content of your actual page in order to win this contest. That's because I care about you guys. I know that your guys' feed is important to you, so I want to keep it clean, and that's why we're going to post it in the story. If I share in my story or in my Facebook feed multiple times daily, does that enter me into the contest multiple times? Of course it does. Why wouldn't it? So go ahead, get to these pages, and do this now. Okay, you guys, now that I've told you everything that you can win, now that I've told you all the different possible ways that you can get entered into this contest, let's get back to the boys in Felicity.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
Alright, so let's step a little bit into the history of Felicity, a little bit further into the members. Let's talk your high school influences. Who are the bands that you just couldn't live without?
Ooh, easy, very easy.
I got my two.
I already know. It's so easy. So I started playing bass in the middle of high school, and I really got into the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, and Incubus. Those were my primary bands. Just the bass lines that I picked up from them were just easy enough to learn for a beginner level, and then I kind of stuck with it. And that kind of 90s rock, kind of funk stuff is what led me into playing bass more. But then I branched out and I got into more of the 90s grunge. Nirvana, Bush was good to listen to, Tool. All those kinds of bands sort of led me into the early 2000s pop punk, story of the year type of music, and then from there it's just whatever I was able to gobble up and play. But I guess fundamentally started with the Chili Peppers and Rage and Incubus.
Yeah, I mean, those are great choices, man.
What are your
am I
saying,
supposed
Ian?
to like
In high school?
In high school, I'm gonna go with.
That's easy because that was me like 2 years ago.
I know. That's
Or he's
true.
still a baby.
For me, huge influence on me in high school. I'm remembering was definitely the band Finch, who had that huge single "What It Is to Burn," but that whole first album was amazing for me. I would just listen to it front to back, and they're not talked about as much, but they were just doing great things.
They're definitely one of those more like influential bands
band.
than like straightforward popular bands.
Yeah. And then just a couple other bands like Third Eye Blind was definitely a big influence on me, just lyrically, and melody-wise, and also A Day to Remember was a big influence of mine, and I still remember those days just listening to those albums nonstop in high school, and just all my friends were like not really listening to all that type music as well, so I was the only one, so it was cool to be carrying that torch. It was cool to be carrying that torch, you know what I mean? But that's mine.
Tyler, why don't you go? You haven't spoken in a while.
Isn't yours Five Finger Death Punch, dude?
They say Five Finger Death Punch is mine, but I like them. They're fine, but it was not in high school. I wasn't listening.
Oh, let's see. In high school, I was more into the, I guess I would say 90s music. So Foo Fighters is one of my biggest influences. Dave Grohl's just the man. He's pretty much the reason why I started playing an instrument in the first place.
He's got like 10 tattoos.
He has Dave Grohl's face tattooed on his back.
I do, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he has the entire sleeve matching Dave Grohl's sleeve. Like he got a matching tattoos as Dave Grohl's tattoos.
I also did.
That's dedication.
I also did a tattoo on myself of the Foo Fighter logo.
Also,
don't try that at home, kid.
Yeah, don't do. Yeah. Let's see, and then I started getting into like the heavier music. So like, it's weird. I went from listening to Foo Fighters and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Incubus to like straight up death metal. I've been in all different kinds of bands, and I don't know how it happened. It just did, and I loved it. I think Lamb of God was my first metal band that I absolutely loved.
Ah, yes.
Like, well, besides Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started getting a lot crazier. Like,
first,
yeah, I did actually in high school for a little bit.
You do own some Five Finger Death Punch merch, so
yeah.
For me, in high school was actually more of a classic rock junkie. So I was in a band that kind of was classic rock influence, and my heroes were Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, and Randy Rhoads. So all of Ozzy's early music, and Iron Maiden was one of my favorite bands. Guns N' Roses, yeah, all the irons. Slash was one of my favorite guitar players of all time, still is. So Guns N' Roses, obviously, and then when I got like closer out of high school is when I started getting into more heavier music. Metallica was another huge influence me in high school, and then I got into heavier music, and got into started going to Warped Tour in high school, so that kind of broadened my horizons, and got into Coit and Cambria in high school, and they're one of my favorite bands to this day.
Favorite band of all time, right here.
Yeah, so there you go. Me too, man. My favorite band of all time. We're actually going to see them with Take Back Sunday in a couple months.
Oh man, I am so jealous.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for that. So yeah, that was me. I'll let Corey go. High school was like 2 years ago for him, so
very fresh in his memory.
He's gonna be like Migos.
Yeah, right.
Despacito.
Similar to like Drew, I grew up a lot listening to a lot of like 60s and 70s influence stuff. I started getting into guitar due to a lot of George Harrison's songwriting and like John Lennon's songwriting and like Jimi Hendrix and a lot of like the blues rock guys of like Woodstock era. And then I started listening to a lot of like Eagles and Fleetwood Mac and Chicago and Huey. And then
Huey Lewis.
When I got into high school, I discovered, because I started music at a very young age with like piano and violin and stuff. And then when I got into high school, I discovered 80s glam hair metal and just fell in love.
Went through that Bowie phase.
Oh, fuck yeah, I did.
Loved it.
Dude, it was awesome. Like
Scott
Nikki
Bowie's
Sixx was like a huge influence. Randy Rhoads was another big one. Like Warren, like all the big just teased up hair and just the cheesy music videos. And,
Classic.
yeah, it was insane. And then I started going to, like Drew said, like went to Warped Tour and started discovering a lot more broader thing that was happening, a lot more current. So I started getting into pop punk music, all the way from like 70s hardcore to like present, early 2000s pop punk. And then like in high school, some of the bands I was in, like we were opening up for bands like Forever Came Calling, Heart to Heart, and like Last Call and stuff. And then just kept it going through high school, like college and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's,
So diverse, you could say.
Yeah.
Diverse background.
We're very touch of punch here.
Yes.
A lot of influences for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is kind of why if you listen to our records, like, it kind of like bounces. Like, we have some heavier stuff, and we have some just straightforward pop punk stuff, and some straightforward rock stuff, and it's like we don't ever want to say like necessarily say like, you know, we can only be one genre necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, we want to just be ourselves and write music that we would want to listen to.
Well, definitely, right? Why pigeonhole yourself in one genre when you're not going to feel the same way every single day?
Absolutely, and that's one thing we love about bands like 4 Year Strong and A Day to Remember and like a Chung No Captain Chung and some of those modern easy core, hardcore mixed with pop punk bands, even going back to Newfound Glory where they were like started mixing hardcore elements and heavier elements into their music. But still we're like, you know, just a fun pop punk rock band, and that's what we just want to be. We just want to have fun playing our songs and writing our songs. We want to have people have fun listening to them. So whether they're in a circle pit or a mosh pit or just jumping up and down, we want to try to get all the categories.
Yeah, like a hybrid.
Yeah, like a little bit of everything at our shows. So if you come to our shows, you should be doing a little bit of it all, which we love. We never want to just, you know, write like a lot. If you're in like a death metal band, like you're expected to just write this style, and if you don't, then you're like, oh, they sold out. I don't like them anymore. Like, we came to the party playing tons of different genres and kind of mixing it up. So that's kind of what we just keep doing.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's a little hard for people to tell you that you sold out if you're constantly doing different things the whole time.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yep. And it's also, it's helped us also, you know, be able to play shows with bands that are way heavier than us and bands where we're the heaviest band on the lineup, you know. That's really helped us a lot, too, in our career because we were able to take on a lot more shows and be asked to play a lot more shows because we had that kind of diversity in our sound.
Mm-hmm. And it allows you guys to be introduced to a much larger array of people, for sure, which definitely could bring more people to your fan base.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So do you guys have a favorite song to play or listen to from your own catalog?
Corey really likes the song Reflections.
Oh my
He
god.
tells us every day.
Still, you're going.
Dude, until I die, that's gonna be big.
I still get really excited to play Burn the World. It's one of those ones where it's probably the song we've played the most out of all our songs. Cause we played it at least once or twice every single practice. We played it at every single show. It's also was one of the, like, I guess older songs of all the songs we've written. And for some reason, like, and then it's one of my favorite songs to listen to, you know, that if I do listen to our music, like, so I've just, every time it gets me hype, and it's also great because we've played it so much that it's way easier for me to play it without fucking up. So I can have more fun actually playing the song and can get more into it, and it's the end of the set, so I'm fully warmed up, you know, the blood's flowing, I can really, like, put everything into the final song of the set, so I still love playing Burn the World.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with a deeper track off Brace Yourself. One Last Chance is probably one of my favorite to play. It's not requested as much, but it's definitely one of my favorite ones to play. Yeah, what about you guys?
It's a sleeper track, I would say.
I love it.
I like to play...
None of the unreleased stuff.
Yeah, none of that.
I wasn't going to say any of that.
Okay.
Everlong, next.
There you go. Honestly, probably Circles.
Circles?
For me.
That's actually is a really fun song to play, too.
That song's fun. It's got a lot of different elements, and it's got a bueno breakdown that I like just trashing that China on, man.
Yeah, he broke his China like 3 times playing that song.
Yeah.
So.
For me, I would second everything that Andrew said with Burn the World. More so because the verses were lyrics that I had written with my previous band, and they hold a lot of meaning in terms of the X that it is about. So Burn the World essentially became the release song for me and all of the emotion that came along with that. And I also still remember the day when we were recording it with Andrew Wade, and he just said, "Hey, who came up with those lyrics? Let me talk to that person for a minute." And just sitting down with him and, having him ask me, what did this mean? What was going through your head at the time? And really seeing how he built the song around the mood and message of the lyrics, and just really made it memorable to go through that process with him and then see the song transform into what it is, and how it's just our closer that brings all this energy out of the crowd and all of us. And we have played it so much where all of the choreography that goes into that song is just executed so well. I only hope that as we play all of our other songs as many times as we have already played Burn the World, we get the same comfort level with the choreography and the emotions and everything. Mm-hmm. But for the time being, it's definitely my favorite one to play. And Damien, you didn't actually elaborate why One Last Chance was your favorite one to play. You just said you liked playing it. What about it?
Just lyrically.
It feels good.
Yeah, it feels good. It just feels good, That's all.
All right. It has a really...
There's a vibe to it.
That's understandable.
Bridge. Like, the bridge of... That's why I love Reflections and One Last Chance, because the bridges of both those songs are probably the most lyrically in-depth parts of that entire EP. And each of those parts are only like 15 seconds. Yeah. But it literally tells the entire story of the song and just wraps it up. It's like a little present. It's like, all right, here's a cool beat, and here's the purpose of the song.
Yeah, those are really good. These are good bridges.
Besides the ones you've already shared, do you guys have any favorite show or tour stories?
This could get dangerous.
Okay. What kind of do we have? Is the audience one that shouldn't hear the egg story?
No,
We are never telling the egg story.
Let's do the Indiana one.
All right, the Indiana story.
Mikey,
So when we were, Papa Roach one too. Okay, all right. We'll tell the Indiana story and the Papa Roach story. So when we were on tour, I think it was 2 summers ago now, and we were driving somewhere between Lafayette and Indianapolis in Indiana. Our tour vehicle at the time was not in the best of shape. And earlier on in the trip, the dipstick allowing us to check the amount of oil in the car broke. So we knew there was a small oil leak. We just didn't know how bad it was at that point. So at a rest area in the middle of Indiana, we put an extra quart of oil in the car just to be safe, when in reality that was way, way too much. So the moment we get back on the highway, all of this smoke starts filling up in the car because it's burning off all of the excess oil, and it reaches a point where we realize we absolutely have to stop right now. This is dangerous. We pull over.
It was not that it was filling up. It was it was like being in Vietnam and they were gassing the fuck out of it. It was like the air ducts. It was coming from like the windows, like the side.
It was bad.
The windows. It was coming from the floorboards. That
everywhere.
Were like trying to breathe, and it's just.
So we pull over and we realize what the problem was, and we think, okay, how do we fix this now? How do we empty the oil out of this car? And we had it sitting for about an hour just running, thinking we're just going to burn off the oil, which was obviously a very slow process. And then someone comes up with the idea of draining the oil filter or releasing it so that it would just spill the oil out on the side of the road. And we're thinking, isn't that polluting? Yeah, okay, maybe it is. Right as we're about to do this, a sheriff car pulls up right behind us because they had seen us sitting on the side of the road maybe a quarter of a mile from a gas station for over an hour now. And he starts asking us what's wrong. He tries to help us fix it. He even drives a couple of us back to the gas station to get large gulp cups to systematically pour the excess oil into there so that we don't pollute the environment or whatever. Mm-hmm. After he leaves, we think, we cannot do this. We're not this sophisticated. So
we could have done it. The problem is that
it would have made the mess.
Well, the mess would it was high enough. The problem was we couldn't get the plug off the pan, and we couldn't drain it. Like we tried using.
We didn't have any tools. Yeah, So that brings us to the socket wrench. So at this point, it had been probably 3 hours, and we're still not sure what to do. We have a show that night in Chicago, and we think, okay, let's just appeal to the kindness of strangers. And we took the lid of one of our merch bins, and Corey wrote out in large letters, "socket wrench," but he forgot the K in socket, so it said "sochet wrench" with a giant question mark.
He has been touring for a little while, so we'll give him. Yeah.
So
I'm a very petite boy. I was in the sun for a very long time. I was dehydrated.
So we hold up this sign that says Sochet Wrench, and within 5 minutes, a car gets off the highway, pops a Yui, pulls up. It's this guy and his wife. They're in their late 20s. He's a mechanic who works for an insurance agency, something along those lines, and he just said, I can absolutely help you. Pulls out tools, pulls out one of those mechanics mats, gets underneath the car, releases the oil filter, drains all the oil, leaves us with some tools. Such a nice guy, just driving home to Indianapolis or something, and we're back on the road. And it was just an incredible moment of you go through that low shit feeling of, oh crap, what are we going to do next? We have no plan to get out of the situation, to the kindness of strangers helped us get back on the road and make it to Chicago.
It was the scariest thing, too, because, like, he was a really nice guy. And, like, when he laid the mat down and, like, was getting under the tranny and everything, he was like, hold on, I gotta, like, adjust myself.
Oh, yeah.
And he, like, lifts his shirt up, and he has a fucking gun strapped to him, and we're like, God, like, okay, so, you know, that's not intimidating at all.
Not used to that in Florida.
Yeah, like, in Florida, like, even though, like, a lot of people have concealed carries, like, you don't see that often around here. So for a bunch of, like, out-of-state boys to see this guy, you know, holding, we're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Also, I got covered in ticks. I went in the cornfield to pee, and I got covered in ticks.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you didn't bring that
I don't
in the
like
car.
Indiana
Oh, I
anymore.
know.
Yeah,
So-
everywhere on the road in Indiana, like, sorry to anyone listening, but, like,
Cornfields and ticks.
yeah, it's standing there for, like, 5.5 hours, and all you can see around you is miles of cornfields, a two-way road, and a little convenient gas station.
That's the Midwest for you.
That was...
Yep. So that was the adventure in Indiana. Another signature moment, a much more brief moment, when we were playing Fort Rock Fest down in Fort Myers about a year ago. The headliner was Def Leppard, but bands like Chevelle, Seether, Of Mice and Men, Beartooth, so many big bands were there. 3 Days Grace, yeah. We're backstage by catering, and I had just come out of the bathroom with somebody, but I know Andrew and Damien were still in the bathroom. All of a sudden, this one dude walks by, and I go, that guy looks familiar. I'm pretty sure he's in a band. And then 3 more dudes walk by, and the last dude was Jacoby from Papa Roach. And as he walked by, I just said, what's up? And then he said, what's up, back to me. And then that was my most starstruck moment, because I had never given in to being starstruck, but just having Jacoby Shaddix be like, what's up, man? And then he walked in to take a piss.
Oh,
Now, Andrew had a much better experience with Jacoby.
Well, Damien, so I walked in and I peed. There was only one urinal. So then Damien was peeing, and I was standing and waiting for Damien. I didn't want to leave him alone in the bathroom. So I was waiting for Damien to finish and wash his hands so we can walk out together. But then all of Papa Roach came in to use the same urinal.
Kick the door in.
Yeah, they kick the door in. They come in to use the same urinal that Damien's currently using. And they, like, walk right past me, and I'm just like, oh, shit, that's Papa Roach. And he comes up, and Jacoby looks at me and goes, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Like, were you waiting? And I had already finished. And so I said, no, I'm just hanging out. And he's like, hanging out in the men's room?
Circle jerk.
And I'm like, yeah, man, just trying to check out some dicks. And he's laughing so hard. And I was just like, I made Jacoby Shaddix laugh. Like, yes. And I didn't want to leave the bathroom mainly because Papa Roach was in the bathroom. So I was
How often do you get to piss
just
next
kind
to
of,
Papa Roach?
just pissing next to Papa Roach. The other later in the night,
Dude, it was uncomfortable because Chet looked over when I was in the urinal next to him, he looked over, looked down at me and was like, nice. Oh my God, why are you doing this right now?
later in the night, Tyler, our drummer, and I were in the other bathroom, and I see about a 60-something-year-old man walk in who only had one arm to use the bathroom, and he goes and gets into the stall right next to Tyler, and I thought to myself, I'm like, well, Def Leppard's headlining. Their drummer only is, like, really famous for being a one-armed drummer. Like, he lost his arm in an accident in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So he's a one-armed drummer, and it's like, that's the drummer of Def Leppard. So I'm texting Tyler, and I'm like, hey, man, you're taking a shit next to the drummer of Def Leppard right now. And I think to myself, like, when would I ever say that sentence ever to anyone ever again? Like, that's the one time that sentence will ever be said. So that was really cool. Fort Rock was an insane day.
That whole day was so many cool little moments. Just
tons of stuff like that where it was like
seeing Papa Roach before they went on stage, Jacoby gets everyone in a group and they huddle and they pump each other up, and then they just go out there and fucking kill it. We got to be side stage for Chevelle.
For everyone.
Everyone after
I
we
remember
played,
I was sitting side stage watching Papa Roach play Scars, and to the left of me, like all the bands kind of like who were playing the festival all kind of came out side stage specifically for Papa Roach. Out of all the bands that played that day, the one band that had the most people there supporting them side stage was Papa Roach. And at one point I looked to my left, and it's Mark Tremonti from Creed and Alter Bridge was playing. He's like a guitar legend. And the other side of me is the lead singer of Motionless in White. And behind me is like the bass player of Chevelle. And I'm just like, where am I right now? And why do I deserve to be here? Because this is like insane. And we're all just sitting there watching Papa Roach play Scars together. And it was just like, I'll never forget that, you know?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's...
Tour also, like, even smaller stuff, just like seeing different parts of cities and getting lost and
eating different foods from all the different cities, like that's always a blast.
Monels.
Yeah.
God bless Monels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yelling at cab drivers in New York City.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We can't wait. We can't wait to get back on the road. Hopefully, as soon as we can.
Getting terrified in Alabama.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right, you guys. Before I ask my last question, where can my listeners find you?
We're super easy to find. Everything is We Are Felicity. So Facebook.com/We Are Felicity, Instagram @ We Are Felicity, Twitter is @ We Are Felicity, and if all else fails, you can go to wearefelicity.com. And that's the easiest way to track us down and check out our tunes. Everything's on Spotify. Everything's on iTunes. YouTube. Everywhere you can find it. YouTube. Yeah, our YouTube is We Are Felicity as well. So.
Okay, awesome. So you guys have already been named one of Rock Sound's breakout bands of 2018. What else is in the future for Felicity?
Well, we released 3 songs, 2 of which were released this year, one of which was released at the end of 2017. And so basically we're releasing our music kind of one song at a time. So we have a new single coming out very shortly in the next month. And then after that, we have a bunch of tricks up our sleeve. We're going to be hopefully touring this summer. We have some stuff we're locking in right now to get out on the road as soon as we can. And then looking forward to that, we are writing more music. And hopefully entering the studio again this fall. So we are definitely going to be busy the next few months.
All the things that you would expect a breakout band to be consistently doing, with releasing music videos in conjunction with singles, getting the next wave of music ready to go, and just gigging as often as we can in whatever regions we are able to make it to.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having us, man. We had a
it.
blast. Everyone's listening. Make sure you subscribe and keep following. And we hope to see all of you guys real soon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, I got to give another big thank you to the members of Felicity, that being Damien, Andrew, Corey, Mike, and Tyler, for taking time out of their busy schedule. They actually had some things that they had to take care of, some last-minute emergency things that they had to make sure were right for you guys, their fans, and they still took time out of that busy schedule, that busy day, to share the story of the group with us here on Desert Tiger. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you did, go ahead and hit that follow and subscribe button. And once again, thank you guys, the listeners, so much for even just tuning in to this episode of Desert Tiger. And if you haven't yet, go over to the Desert Tiger Entertainment page on Facebook, the Desert Tiger Podcast Instagram, or my personal Instagram, colton.gesh, where you are going to get entered for our amazing Desert Tiger giveaway. It's going to be going all week, so go ahead, hurry up, enter this contest, because by the time next episode comes out, we're going to be announcing our winner. That's right, we're going to be announcing our winner next week on next week's episode. So get entered, subscribe to the podcast, and see if you won this amazing sweater and some items from our past guests that include books, music, and a movie. So, alright, now that we've gone and thanked Felicity, now that we've gone and thanked you guys, like always, we like to end things off with a quote, something to leave you with a little bit inspired, something to maybe motivate you, maybe something to get you thinking about your day. So today we're going to take a quote from Tom DeLonge. When we realize how little we mean to the universe, we realize how important we are to each other. Have a great week, everybody.